Dante Rivera and CFFC welterweight contender Eric Nolan joins me once again on the world's okayest podcast. Eric, man, it's always a pleasure to have you. It doesn't look like you were in a fight not that long ago.
No, no, not at all.
Well, I'll say it's been like 7 or 8 months since you were last on my show, but I did see you in Atlantic City. I told you that I saw you, and I said, "Yay, Eric, go Eric!" And I said a bunch of generic, unhelpful things, and you talked about remembering that keenly.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Eric, I wanted to just first and foremost, I wanted to congratulate you. I know that you're just coming off a victory at CFFC 112. You fought a really tough, scary guy named Ibrahim Kallie. That was something else. Like, this kid went right out of the gate, and it looked like he tried to decapitate you right off the top. Going into that fight against Kali, did you think that that was going to be his game plan? Was that something that you were expecting him to come out as aggressive as he was?
Yeah, 100%. I sat down and I watched film on him as much as I could, and I found common patterns in his fights. It seemed that he's not really as comfortable as he seems in the pocket and boxing and stuff like that. He starts to get like a little wild. He leaves a lot of openings up, like overextends a lot on his punches. Uh, the game plan for that fight was just to take control early, dictate the pace, wear him out, and then finish him via knockout. But you know, not, nothing always happens perfectly in a fight. So we got it done in round one. I can't really complain. I wish I was in here, but can't complain.
I thought it was a perfect response. And we'll talk about the Miller fight here in a second, but I thought it was a perfect response for you because like he was coming out as aggressive as he was, and at no point in that fight did you look thrown off guard. Like, at no point did you seem like your feathers were ruffled. Like, your composure, your footwork looked really good. But like, just outwardly, like how you presented yourself, just how you were reacting to some of the things that he was doing, putting him where you wanted to, whether it be through your footwork, giving him the looks that you were giving him, like that was all part of your plan. And it came to a head. Like, you were able to get this guy out of here in a relatively short amount of time. What was that feeling like getting your arm raised, coming off a difficult loss like that you came off of a few months prior? What was that feeling like for you?
Well, like the thing that I was worried, like, no one wants to go 1-2 to start their professional career, and everybody knows that Ty Miller fight, it was a high level fight for both of us, and he stepped up on a 2 week notice. I had a change of opponents on a 2 week notice, so like it was something that I wanted to come back from. So get my hand raised again, like stayed professional, got my hand raised, got out of there, and I couldn't ask for a better camp. I had like I refocused, I took a step back and I was like looking myself in the mirror, and I'm like, what do I have to fix here? Like, what did I do wrong last fight? Hard work pays off, and I got it done.
And it did pay off. And what's wild is you're only talking what, roughly 4 or 5 months in between fights. It's not a long time to kind of get back out there. Usually when you see guys take a tough loss like that, it's like, okay, well, maybe we'll see him again at the end of the year, but I don't know. Because oftentimes it's like, I'm gonna go backpack in the Himalayas for a month or two and refine myself and get that fire back, and then I'll go back into the ring. That wasn't the case for you. You're out there a little more than 90 days after that. So is that like going into camp when you knew that your opponent was going to be Kali, like with that loss kind of like in your rear view mirror, like at what point were you able to like just kind of let that go and forget it? Like, yep, it happened, but I have to completely move on, because I always feel like that answer is different for some guys.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, I know who I am as like an individual, as an athlete, and as a fighter. Like, I figured all that stuff out in my life at a very young age.
Right.
In the Marines, like there's no 4 month breaks. It's
Mm-hmm.
like fuck up Monday, like Tuesday, you're right back out there. So tough shit. And I was ready to go like the next fight card, but I have to take like it is like once you're pro, there's no going back. So I had to take a full approach. I took a month to just up my skill work. We set a date. We're like, all right, we're gonna fight on this date. Don't know who it is yet, but I was still going through my everyday practices. Doing my thing. So I think a big part of that was just knowing who I am as a fighter and a person. I found that out. Right after the Miller fight, I texted my dad and I was like, "Look, dude, like, you ain't gonna really see me as much as you do. Like, this is something I really want to do with my life, and it's gonna suck. I'm not gonna be able to see you guys a lot, but this is what I want to do. This is what I got to do." And I went out and I did it.
Pretending I'm a fighter for a second and just pretending like I'm you. One of the difficult things, you lose a split decision like that. And when you are like, in the shower or driving home or whatever the case may be, it's not like football. It's not like baseball. It's not like hockey where it's like, fuck it. We'll get them next week, right? It's like in fighting, it's like, we'll get them. I don't really know. And that's got to be kind of like a mind fuck in a way where it's like, you want to get back out there so bad. And really the only thing that you could do is like, well, I can attack the gym. I could hit that up, but like, you're not going to like really scratch that competitive itch until you're back out in the cage fighting a bona fide opponent. And that's got to be kind of a mind fuck.
Yeah. And another thing is like the competition at this level, it's not easy, so you're going to get thrown back in there with a very like a fighter that has the credentials, and they are either coming off a loss or they're coming off of a big win. So it's there's so many factors that play into like the sport. It's why it's the craziest sport in the world.
And at your level, you aren't going to fight some 3-12 guy. Like it's just not going to happen. They're not going to find. Yeah, they're not going to. Well, not only that, but like CFFC, they're not going to find somebody like that for you. It's not worth their time, and it's not worth your time either. Like you need to have an opponent that's going to get you out of bed in the morning. And I thought that you had that with Kallie. Like I understand, like he might not be the most technical guy, but I could see him putting people to sleep. I could see him being a really dangerous guy. I could see him really sneaking one over on a lot of people that are like, "Oh, this guy's a brawler." It's like, yeah, he is, but you better take him seriously, or you're going to sleep.
Absolutely, like I watched his fight before mine. He had like a 30-second knock against a Henzo guy. So like, but I don't really like. No matter what the opponent is, I always think like, oh my God, like this guy could beat me. This is like, I'm like, this is how this guy can beat me.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do to like minimize that? And what are we going to do to maximize what I could do to beat him? So, and a lot of feints, a lot of level changes and straight punches. And, when he came in too quick, hooked out, he was missing, whiffing every big punch he tried to land, he missed. So, a couple times on the arm, but like I literally knew it was coming. So
right.
I don't think I gave him an opening to really hurt me at all. So
I think one of the things that I noticed is, especially when he was like going for that home run shot and then he was missing. Now he's getting frustrated. Now he's going to come at you even harder, and that it works until it doesn't work. It works for the first minute 30 of a fight, but you're in there for 5 minutes, which is a freaking eternity, right? For you, I know that you're used to it, but like in an actual fight, like I don't think a lot of people really understand like how long 5 minutes is, and then all of a sudden you see him start maybe not throwing as hard. And then like I knew going into like that 2-minute mark, I was like, there's no way this guy can keep that up. And then going into that 2-minute mark, sure as shit, the win from those sales that starts tapering off, and then you found that opportunity to get a submission.
Yeah, when I pushed him up against the cage, I heard him whiffing, and then I threw a knee to his body, and then I hit him with a knee right on the chin, and I just heard his like life bar just go.
right, exactly. And you went out there and you were able to like not only get a win, but you were able to like get your first finish of your professional career. I know that that's something that you were really accustomed to in your AMI career. I know you choke guys out all the time. I know you punch people out. So like finishing fights, that's in your DNA. Like that's what you do. But to be able to like get a guy out of there, to choke a guy out, to make a guy quit, that had to have been a great feeling in your third pro fight.
Absolutely. I do always like look for the finish. Like that's just something that's what everybody comes to see you for, and that was
Mm-hmm.
something in your career that everybody loved. They were like, this kid gets it done, he could get it done quick. And if he can't get it done quick, he could still get it done in the third round and still have the power to knock people out. So like it was something that, that's what people are coming to see. And, my pro debut, I had a great fight, and that kid just wouldn't go down.
Yes, I remember that fight. Shane White Eagle and Shane White Eagle. If you were listening to this, you are a bad, bad man, and I hope I see you fight again soon. But yeah, that what a great opponent for real. Like he really pushed you.
Oh yeah, that was, and I hope he comes back too. I want to see him fight like some of the other fought or some of the other guys in my division because you know I game plan for him really well too. But like he fights another guy that maybe not as good or a little lower experience, he'll probably end up winning.
Yeah, it would not surprise me. And you talk about experience, and you're a really young guy. You've only been doing this competitively since 2019, and you turned pro in 2021. So like when you look at things, you're like, okay, well, this guy has three professional fights, but you fought a bunch as an amateur. I think you have a deceptive amount of experience for your age. And like one of the things I wanted to ask you,
That COVID year too, where I couldn't fight at all. So like that probably was
exactly, yeah, exactly. So, obviously the pandemic pumped the brakes on your ability to like have as much action, but that just goes to show everything that you had kind of like going on leading up to this. And when you think back from 2019, when you first made your AMI debut, to here we are now in 2022, about to flip the calendar over to 2023. In that window of time, like, have you seen the game of MMA like changing? Like, are there more things that you're like noticing now that you weren't maybe 3 or 4 years ago? So, like, what I mean by that is tactics, right? Like the calf kick is like so in vogue, and we talk about that all the time. And and just talking with fighters and talking with coaches, it's like, yeah, it's a new thing right now. But watch these guys; they're gonna stop practicing with those pads. People are gonna get better at checking kicks, and then it's gonna go away, and like you're gonna see something else show up. He's like, people seem to like they point out these like trends in MMA, and I was just curious if you've noticed any in your time being a competitive fighter.
100%. But now this is my theory about it. Okay, I think that we hit a phase where it's a lot of like a lot of really smart coaches getting a hold of really smart fighters and athletes, and they're allowed, they're utilizing these game plans and stuff, which I think is amazing.
Mhm.
But what I also think is there's a lot of people that are forgetting that it's a fight.
Mm.
They're taking the fight out of the turning into more of like a sport, where now you're going to start to see those guys that are just in there to fight. They could take those calf kicks, they could take a little beating, and then when they finally land that hit on the other guy, how is that other guy going to react? These records, like back in the day, you could go 11-0 and then get that UFC shot. Like now,
Mhm.
you're guys that are like 5-2, 6-3, maybe getting that call to the you're gonna start. I feel like you're gonna start to see like normalization of like there's not gonna be 10 guys that are 10-0. It might be like that number might drop to like two. You're gonna start to see guys that are like 7-2 or like 19-7. Like you're gonna start to see guys that just have a lot of experience, like those through those losses, a lot of experience. Then those guys that want to pat their records to 10-0 before they get to the UFC, they're gonna start falling.
That's a fascinating point. And when you think about it, you think about Dana White Contender Series, right? So it's like the Contender Series is happening. I know they just wrapped up a season, but it used to be not even what 2-3 years ago. It's like Dana might like one guy on the entire card, and he'd pick like one guy. Now it's like if you win, you're basically in. And from like a marketing standpoint, it's like I can understand that because it's like these guys are all going to get entry level contracts with the amount of UFC fights that they're pumping out. You're going to need to have prelim guys like, and I'm not trying to like throw shade at anybody who just got called up to the UFC. Not saying that at all. I'm just simply saying like to feed the machine, they need more and more people, and I think that's really interesting because you see a lot of the CFFC guys that are getting called up now. A lot of the champions are getting called up. They're getting their opportunities. Donovan Beard just got called up, and that fight didn't go his way. But it's like you're you're on a highly visible platform. You're on UFC Fight Pass. You're fighting for what I believe is the best MMA promotion on the entire East Coast. It's not hard to get noticed fighting on the stage that you're fighting on. And that's kind of got to be a surreal feeling, like knowing you're not that far off from getting an opportunity like that either.
I feel like I get this fight in December, I get another win, and then maybe I fight Ty Miller again, and then or fight him in the Contender Series, or just fight him again for CFFC, and then see where that takes me. But
so let's talk about that. Let's talk about what the rest of your year looks like. What is going on with you for the rest of the year? I'm sure there's maybe some you could talk about, maybe stuff that you aren't able to talk about, but like, what can you say as far as what your plans are between now and the end of the year?
well, I got this December fight lined up. Still don't have an opponent, but that'll I let Dante take care of that. That's a Dante thing. After that fight in December, I'm definitely trying to get a quick turnaround fight, even if I had to go down to Tampa or wherever their next CFFC cards are. But if I get to 4-1 and they offered me a Contender Series fight, I would not say no.
Well, I think it's one of those things like you have to do what you have to do because there's a limited window that you can like compete at the level in which you compete at. Like you're a young guy right now and you have your entire fighting life ahead of you, at least 10 years, at least, right? But also it's one of those things where it's like you're not going to like get into the UFC and make like life changing amounts of money right off the gate. Like there are levels to it. You have to get in there, right? And you have to prove that you belong there. And that paycheck, it's one of those things where the paycheck catches up to you. Like you're going to have to be underpaid for a little while until that paycheck starts catching up to you. And one of the things I wanted to ask you, Eric, I'd like to get your opinion. I feel like there's a really big emphasis when I talk to a lot of the younger fighters, right? It's like the dreams to make it to the UFC. You hear about that, but like one of the things I always say, maybe not when the camera's on, but I'll say something like, okay, cool. Well, how are you going to stay there though? Because it's like, yes, like making it is a huge accomplishment, and you've accomplished something that only a micro fraction of the population can do. But the UFC will chew you up and it'll spit you out before
Yeah.
you know it. Like, so it's like, well, what are you going to do to stay there? Because like there are no easy fights. They're going to put you in there with absolute freaking killers and expect you to win most of the time. And they're going to expect you to like go out there and put on violent entertainment for people 3 or 4 times a year. Like, what are you going to do to sustain that?
Yeah. Well, I always think about like a couple things. Like one, you have to win.
You have to
Okay.
win.
You have to win. Nobody's coolest dude on the world in the world. You could be Jake Paul's status of popular, but if in the UFC, if you don't win, nobody cares. Two, you have to be marketable. Like you have to have a story. You have to have you have to have a good story. And now a lot of the times you're going to see the guys with the same story, whatever. So in my case, I'm a Marine. I'm a military guy. That's a story that like people have had in the past, but it's always a story that people are going to want to. They're going to want to see that military guy get to the top, or at least be in the mix. It's something they can always market because you're a military guy who doesn't want to. Even if you're Army, Air Force, Course, Navy, you're gonna want to go and you're gonna want the Marine to win,
Of
or
course
whoever.
I am. Yeah, of course, because and we were talking about this a little bit. It's because like number one, like we all make fun of each other, like behind the scenes, like oh the crayon eater versus the virginal Air Force guy. Like and there are grains of truth to both of those things, by the way. But in any event, there really is like a camaraderie there where it's like it doesn't really matter if you're an infantry guy and I was an avionic technician. It doesn't, none of that shit matters. It's like we both raised our hands. We both said we wanted to serve our country. We went ahead and we did that. And there's like a brotherhood there. There's like a, you look at guys a little bit different once you know that about somebody. It's like, oh, okay. Like, okay, cool. I know who I'm talking to now. And I think one of the things that's so interesting about your story is because it gives military guys, people, I should say, it gives them hope because getting out of the military is freaking scary and it's hard. And most of us who went into the military, like, listen, we didn't like turn down offers from Yale to enlist to go to freaking Paris Island. Like, not a lot of people have done that. Like, right? Like, if you're in the Marines or in any branch of the military and you're an enlisted guy, like, chances of you turning down like a full ride scholarship to university A, B, or C, next to nil. You're probably a blue collar kid that didn't come up from much, just like me. Parents maybe didn't have like the all the means to give you what it is that you needed, but you kind of had to take it upon yourself to like get to where you wanted to go in life, and the military helped you out with that.
No,
And
and it's crazy you said that. Like after when they say like, oh, like when you lose a fight, nobody hits you up, but like when you win a fight, everybody hits you up. Like even when I lost that fight to Ty Miller, like I had 100 people plus hit me up from the Marines. Most of them were Marines, and they're like, dude, like just let me know, like I fucking love watching you. Like what you're doing is like amazing. Like even if it doesn't give them like hope, it gives them like excitement to see that, hey, somebody got out of this and is trying to do something that no one else has done. And it's something that they could look back and say, well, like this guy, Eric Nolan, he was doing the same thing that I was 19, 20. Like, what can I do? You know what I'm saying? It'll make them go chase their dreams. And that's all I really hope for. Like any military guy that's listening, like if there's something you want to do, just go do it. Like you have that mental edge over 98% of the people out in the real world.
You're absolutely right. And I think what's like interesting about it is that same thing that you just said applies to you on your end of the microphone and then to me on my end of it, right? Where it's like completely different. I'm in like the media element of it and I cover guys like you and you're the actual fighter, but it just goes to show that I just decided one day I was like, you know what, everyone else sucks. I could probably do a better job than like 95% of all these people. You kind of have to be a little delusional to do what I do, but you also have to be delusional to be a fighter too. Where it's like, right, you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna go into the gym and I think I'm gonna get into a cage and put my life on the line for no money for like 4 years. And then we'll see how that goes. Then maybe I'll get paid $600 and $600 for my first contract.
No, and I'm like, and the other thing is like I'm still in school. Like I just wrote a paper before this, so I'm like doing school, and then I'm like, I gotta go train now, and then I'm like, oh wait, I got a podcast to do. Like,
but it just goes to show you like all these things, right? Where we see you for the just the amount of time that you're in the cage, but like what we don't see are the miles that you're having to run at 4 a.m, or staying into your gym until 10, 11 o'clock at night to do what it is that you need to do to like keep at a decent weight, to just kind of make sure you're in the right amount of shape and like you're doing all the things that you need to do to like improve on your skills. Like if you're not evolving, if you're not getting better in MMA, that means you're getting worse. And like that's like a high level, right? Where it's like not only maintain but to like level up constantly. Like that's not easy to do.
no, it's very frustrating. Like there's sometimes after practice, I'm just like, damn, like I don't think I got better today.
Right.
And then I fixing it the next day. But like that's something that happens. Like you get in this pattern and rhythm of doing the same thing over and over, especially when you're in camp. Like, the first 2 weeks of camp, I always say are fun because you're like, you're hitting it, you're going up this, but like you start to like level out a little bit because it's like you're doing the same routine every day, and it's just like like you just have to be mentally disciplined to keep pushing through it and getting better and better at it.
Well, I think like the one thing that's always fascinated me about like fight camps though is like your output. I know it's like all scheduled. Like I know like there's a time like you plan it so where your like peak is like right when you're getting ready to walk in the cage. Like I get all that, but what blows me away is like, okay, well, you still need to be in a calorie deficit. Like you still need to cut a little bit. So it's like we're gonna put you on a calorie deficit and we're going to like ramp up at the same time. I'm just like, that is fucking insane.
No, it's cool when you win a fight and then you go to practice, you spar, and then you get to go and get Taco Bell after. Like, but then when you gotta go to practice, spar, you might not have the best day. There's no Taco Bell to comfort for you. You got to go right to the fridge and like cook chicken.
And that has got to be like the most monotonous thing ever. But and then like watching your sodium intake and all that other stuff. It's just like there's a lot of like, I know it sounds silly, like, Tyler, you're making a huge deal of it and talking about it like as if it's a sacrifice. Well, it's like, okay, well then you do it for like 12 weeks then. Like you eat that shit for 12 weeks. Don't drink alcohol. Don't, smoke any hippie lettuce. Not that I would advocate anything like that, but you know what I'm saying? It's like there's all these things that normal people do that you can't do. And it's not a big deal for a week or two. But when you're talking about like month over month over month of having to like not live like other people, like there's got to be a point where I think every mixed martial artist at one point has that like, what the why am I fucking doing this? Like, why am I putting myself through this? This is fucking crazy.
That's what I had an interesting conversation with like another like MMA fighter I saw. I'm actually like drawing a blank about his name, but he was saying, he goes, yeah, like, after I fight, win or lose, like you have to go out and have a little bit of fun with your friends and decompress. Like the thing is with me and like why I feel like I get so many people to come to these fights is like I'm very like like in their lives. Like if they're like at a birthday or whatever, I'm going to it. I might not drink, or like if I'm out of camp, I will. Like you got to have fun. You have to enjoy you got to enjoy the road. Like it's definitely good to, head down, hoodie up, headphones in, looking at your ex-girlfriend's text, whatever it may be. Like that's all cool, but like you got to give yourself a mental break, and that's also like important too.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, because it's like I think the people that are able to do this sport for a really long time like find what works for them, and they're able to like maintain their sanity. Yeah, dude, like I will totally go to Five Guys. I'll totally smash a burger if I'm not like in camp, and I'll totally drink like a bunch of beers and get drunk every once in a while.
Yeah,
but then it's like, okay, I gotta stop being an asshole. Like I can't do this all the time. I can't be a complete asshole. Like I have to like go back and get onto my program.
Yeah, exactly. And like look at Paddy Pimblett or like Sean O'Malley. Like guys are very high level fighters at almost the top. And they're doing these things, but everybody likes to, like these TikToks that my feed is just always like guys like, head down, headphones in, like hoodie up, like, no bullshit. Like, yeah, but like you need some of that like little bullshit to keep your mind off things. And, you got to be somewhat of a normal person or else nobody's going to like you.
And I also think it's one of those things, Eric, where I think a lot of it goes back to what you were saying. What you just mentioned, that is marketable to a certain element of the population. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna act like all fucking like hard right now, right? But then it's like, okay, is it post on Instagram? Cool, all our cameras are off. Okay, thank God. And then they reach for that burger, right? Where it's like, so it's like, so I think it's one of those things where it's like, I think there's certain smoke and mirrors, like not everybody is you also see the other part of it, like a fighter will like say something that makes it look like they're maybe not taking the fight seriously, or it's like they're in Taco Bell and like they fight in like 3 days or something like that. But it's like, dude, like they're there to troll. Like they're not eating that food. Do we get the picture? Okay, cool. Let's get the fuck out of here. Like, it's like with social, and I'm not hating on anybody. It's like you gotta do what you gotta do to stay marketable. You gotta do what you gotta do. Like that's part of this business. And if you aren't marketable and if you aren't kind of doing shit like that, like you're gonna have a hard time
Yeah,
giving
you get
people a reason to like give you big fights. You know what I mean?
100%. Like you could be like Khabib was just like freak. Like he just wasn't thing, and he wasn't really that marketable, but he won so much that's what made it like it worked for him.
Right.
But yeah, like there not a lot of people could do what he did. But the McGregors, very marketable. People that want to act like that, that's fine. I got my own thing. My teammate Luke Fernandez, he has his own thing. Like you got to have your own thing. You can't bite. You just got to be yourself. I learned that like being yourself that's what people love.
Mm-hmm.
It sense you being like fake in a way. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I think, yeah, you see people like that in the UFC, but
Yeah, you absolutely do. There's like this veneer, right? So like a good example of it was like Mike Perry, right? Like I think Mike Perry would say and do certain things to like get people to react a certain way, right? Like when you look at it, he's like a very gifted striker. I'm not going to take anything away from him. A gifted striker, a gifted boxer. In terms of mixed martial artists, maybe not the most skilled mixed martial artist, but he parlayed all of that tough guy image that he put out there into bare knuckle. Like they scooped that shit up because they're like, oh man, like this guy acts like a freaking Hell's
that's not,
Angel biker guy. This is freaking
you know,
fantastic. He made
yeah,
it work for him.
he did absolutely. Like, I like how you're starting to see, like even ex UFC stars getting getting like these movie deals and stuff. Like, I forget what movie I was watching. I saw Michael Bisping in it, and I'm like, yo, this is sick.
The count.
Tyron Woodley and Brick Eye, like
Yeah.
that's the stuff too. Because I'm like, at the end of the day, like, how sick would it be if one of us landed a role as like a superhero or something for Marvel? Like that'd be nuts. Like I'd go crazy. Like,
But I think you're at an age where you're going to start seeing more and more of that because MMA is like growing exponentially in popularity. And the thing that you also have going for you that people in organized sports don't, like if you're a hockey player, you got like a helmet on, you got a visor on. If you're a goalie, you have like a whole bunch of fucking pads and stuff. Nobody freaking knows who you are when you like walk out of there. Like unless you're a star player, people don't know who the fuck you are. Like you play like if you're the center for like the Saints, who I don't number one, I couldn't tell you for the life of me who that is. And I certainly couldn't pick him out of the lineup. Right. So it's like unless you're like a star player, like a quarterback or a linebacker or a wide receiver, people don't know who you are. It's not like that in fighting. Everybody knows who you are. Like it's you're fighting with no gear on. It's just you fighting in like spandex with another half naked guy. Like people are going to know and recognize who the fuck you are pretty easily.
you, I that happens to me like already. Not
Yeah.
even good. Like I just go like if I go to like a local bar or something, like oh yeah, that's he's the one that's fighting. Like and word travels fast, and then people start to really recognize. You're right. You're 100% right about that.
And that's got to be cool in certain aspects, but also not so cool in other aspects, right? Because it's like just being you, it's got to be, or just being any fighter that fights on the stage that you're at. That's part of it though, where it's like you kind of have to accept it for what it is because you go out with like your family, your friends, you're just trying to have a good night on the town and like but like people want to talk to you. Like people are like, oh, dude, like, and it's not always intelligent conversation. Like some of it's like pretty freaking retarded, but that's just
It,
something you have to deal with,
it hasn't gotten like that bad yet for me. Like, so right now, I think it's like the coolest. I'm like, oh, like I love talking to people that like, I love talking to people in general. So it's cool. It's cool that that happens already for me. But I could see it getting like annoying, I guess, but it's part of it. You're right. Like
Yeah.
if you know that's not what you want, then you probably.
So I'm friends with David Wilson, Baby Hulk from Street Thieves, right? So I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, but he was like a backyard brawler for a while, and but he went legit. He actually went into the amateur scene, and now he's a professional. And just talking to him, I thought it was a really interesting story because he's 5 foot nothing, 125 pounds. The guy is fucking shredded beyond belief, and he's an amazing wrestler. People don't know that. They just, oh, he's a backyard brawler type, but he's like, dude, I just did that shit because I thought it was fun. He's like, I didn't think it would like blow up into what it did. I had no idea. And I bring him up because I'm like, there's got to be like a lot of people that like love you for that, but then there's got to be so many more people that like call you a scrub or think you suck or don't take you seriously. He's like, dude, every single time I go on Instagram, I guarantee you, like, I have at least, I don't know, 50 messages that are unread of people like wanting to fight me. Like any single time I like go on Instagram, there's like new people that are like trolling me or like want to fight me every single time. But he laughs it off. He's like and every once in a while like I'll respond back to them, and then like when I do respond back to them, like people are like all of a sudden they like become nice.
I haven't had any. I've had that happen like one time, and sent it into like my Snapchat group chat with all my veteran friends, and I was like, "Yo, you guys want to have some fun?" Like they all like DM this dude and like just started roasting him just off of his like profile picture. And I said, I was like, yo, I feel bad for any troll that tries to troll me on like Instagram or something because I have like a meme army. Like these guys will literally like put your face on anything and it's just funny as hell. And I'm like, literally have a group chat. So if anybody's listening and they're trying to troll me, you're warned. It ain't gonna be fun. It's not gonna work out the way you thought it was.
Well, you know what? I'm glad that you're able to like look at that type of stuff with like a good sense of humor, and it's like, oh well, we'll just you know what? Go ahead. You're gonna say what you're gonna say, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna freaking like troll the shit out of you if you
Oh,
decide to.
I'm gonna have so much fun with it. Like you could say whatever you want about me. I'm very thick skinned. I'll probably laugh at it. I'll probably show my friends and be like, yo, this was funny as shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna have fun too. I'm gonna either roast you back or have my little meme army do it.
Do you ever like out of curiosity? Because I'm like trying to like understand what the etiquette is like, but like do you get guys that don't want to troll you? They're like, yo, I think you're really good and I want to like legitimately fight you. Like, I'm not trying to troll you. I think you're good. I want to fight. Like, does that happen every so often?
Yeah, but then I always just I speak to like I get a guy like that and I'll speak to them like very professional. I'll be like, hey, look, like these are the gym hours. If you want to come stop by, like absolutely, I'll work with you, spar
Mm-hmm.
with you, whatever. But no guy has like ever said like I really want to fight you to like test my like those guys. I
I was talking about it from like a professional sense. Like, yo, you're a pro. I'm a pro. Like, what's up? Like, how do we get something going here? I meant in that sense, not like some random internet
yeah.
tough guy wanting to fight.
Um, no, I mean that's never really like happened really because everybody that's in the local area that like like Dante's probably like friends with like
Mm-hmm.
Frank Wells like he came over and he was working with us a lot. Grant Marshall's in our gym a lot now. Those guys that come in like now it's we're growing as like a team. The thing is with Dante's is it's a really like tight team. Like it's not like other MMA gyms where it's like they're friends in the gym. They train together. They might go out and get a couple like now like Dante's team is like very like we do a lot of shit together. Like we're always either hanging out, even if it's just to go get a drink, or like hanging at Dante's, or like sparring at the gym. Like we're around each other a lot, and that's something you don't see a lot with other teams, or like you'll see it on their Instagrams and stuff. But like we don't even really have a team Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just know that like all there. Like we know so much about each other. It's really cool. Like this should.
I
It's
wanted
cool.
to ask you about one of your teammates. He is a guy to like really watch out for, it's Luke Fernandez. Like this guy, I think he's an incredible fighter. I know that he's already talked about going pro, and I know that's in the works for him. Can you just talk a little bit, like watching this guy fight? I remember, I think the first time I watched him fight was probably last year, not that long ago. But every single time I'm watching him fight, it's like he just chews up people. I could like qualify. Like Dante doesn't need to show up to any of his fights. I'm qualified. I'll be his coach. I'll carry all his shit because it's not going to go past the first round anyway. Like this guy just like destroys people,
Yeah,
and he makes it look so easy. Can you talk to me about like just being around Luke and just watching his game evolve? Like what makes him like such a special fighter in your opinion?
definitely his like definitely. So he has his own like good mindset. Like he's up every morning at 4 in the morning, doing his thing. He's one of those guys. He practices what he preaches. Like if he tells you something that he does, like he actually does it. He doesn't just say, "Hey, you should try doing this." Like no, if he's telling you to do it, it's because he's done it. Um, he has his dad is a really good striking coach that's always involved with us. He shows up every day. Like, he's one of those guys. It's like he's in there every day. We're working neck and neck right next to each other. So it's like I love having Luke as a teammate. Like it's really cool because it's so cool because we're both young and
Mm-hmm.
we're like evolving together. And then like it rubs off on the other guys, like even the guys that haven't even made their amateur debuts yet at the gym, like it rubs off on them. It's like that saying, like you surround yourself by like the 5 people, you're going to be the sum of them. Like that's just how it is. It's good and it's good because we all check each other. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like I'm fucking up, like Luke will tell me. If Luke's fucking up, I'll tell him. If Nick's fucking up, I'll tell Nick. Same with Jerry. Same with all the guys. Like
I really do believe, especially at I know he's 205 pounds. I know that's the weight class he's at. That's not a very like deep weight class. Not right now. And I'm looking around, I'm just like, this guy does not have a very long journey to like get to that next level of MMA, whatever that looks like. Like he's gonna, yes, he's gonna go back to CFFC, right? And he's gonna have to cut his teeth as a professional, but I don't think he's gonna have a very long road ahead of
uh,
him to like fight at that upper echelon. I don't see it.
I don't think anybody thinks that it's going to be a long journey for him. You know,
No.
I,
I,
I, I you know what? Like, I think he's like 27
mm-hmm.
or 27 or 28. Like, he's why not? Like, he's in, peak perform. Like, he's always in shape. He's always ready to go. So I feel like it's one of those, like, with Luke, I don't know his plans, but I think he gets 1 or 2 fights at CFFC and maybe a professional title shot, and then a 2-0, 3-0. I think he could get Bo Nickel got the call at 1-0. So
Exactly. And then they were so impressed they asked him to come back. And it would not surprise me to see a guy like that like ascend very, very rapidly. I really think he's gonna flip that switch and he's just gonna be a buzz saw. And I think he's gonna buzz saw all the way to the UFC. I really do. Like I'll go as far as to say this. Like this is me talking, just Tyler Little talking. I'm just a fucking guy, so I can say whatever I want. But like by this time next year, it wouldn't surprise me if he's like on their radar, or if like they got something in place for him to like go to contender or something like that. Would not surprise me at all.
I mean, either I don't think it would surprise many people.
So it's really interesting. I like your gym quite a bit. I've talked to, well, I think I've had a handful of your teammates on before. Hopefully, I'll have some more. But before I let you go, Eric, I just kind of want to like turn it back over to you. I mean, wow, like what an incredible ride that it's been. Like you're 2022, right? It's been like you've had some lows, you've had some highs, but now you have that opportunity to like go on a tear. You have an opportunity to like get back-to-back wins and to end 2022 on a really, really high note. I wanted to ask you, beyond winning your next fight, whoever that's against, Like, what are your plans? Like, what are some of your goals that you want to achieve in 2023?
I would say it's obvious, like just perform level that I'm capable of. You know, I get in my own head, and like I feel like I've had way better fights in like the gym than I've had in cage, and I feel like you only see like little bits and pieces of like what I'm capable of in the cage. Like my striking, I could strike with the best of them. I could grapple with the best of them. My defense is up there. I think I just need one fight that I could like showcase it all and showcase like why I belong to the next level. But the end of the year or the end of next year, I want to be on the Contender Series, or even if it's a 2 week call up, you know, I'll be ready. I'll make that jump.
You're very, very close. I know the stage that you're competing on. I know the level at which you're performing on. And I know that every single time that you go out, there's a lot of eyes on you. The world's watching. That's got to be a really cool feeling. Just like anything in life, it wasn't handed to you. Like you have to work your ass off. You have to put in the work to like compete at the level in which you're doing. But it's good to see it. And I'm rooting for you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you and your career just kind of advance and like climb that next rung of MMA. It's going to be really cool to see. And I want to give you the chance if there's anyone that you'd like to shout out or thank. I'd like to give you the opportunity to do that before I let you go.
You know, shout out that I've been with since day one. You know, that's really all I have to shout out right now. You know, I got the sponsors. I'll shout them out another time. You always catch me off guard with the shout out shit, man. Shout out. You don't even give me a warning. You're just like, shout out. And I'm like, fuck.
Well, if you wanted to go get your list, I can edit all this bullshit out and you could get it if you want.
No, I just for that. Just leave it as it is. Keep this interview natural, all right?
All right, we absolutely will. Eric, thank you so much for being here, my man. As always, real honor, and look forward to having you back soon.
Absolutely.